Supply chain disruption. That's what we're going to talk about today, guys. Hopefully you're a regular listener. This is not your first episode. If so, go back and listen to some older ones to establish some bona fides. I am not an economist, and I am certainly not a prophet. I don't see the future. I don't pretend to see the future. I was thinking about this the other day talking to my wife, and I said, you know what's a dumb saying? For the foreseeable future. What a stupid saying. And I've probably said it. Nobody can see the future. 1 second from now is not the foreseeable future. Nobody can see the future except for God and his appointed prophets that he gives, foresight to. I'm not God, certainly, and I'm not a prophet. I don't pretend to be one. This is not a prophecy. Right? I'm just looking around. So take that for what it's worth. And I'm not an economist, and I'm not an expert in geopolitics. And I am not the sky is falling guy. I'm not the guy that's like, you tripped and stubbed your toe. The Illuminati did it. The blue helmets are coming to throw you in FEMA camps. I'm not that dude. If you guys listen for any length of time, you know that. But that being said, I would be very pleasantly surprised if there were not serious supply chain disruptions in the future. I'd be great if this was way off base. I would love for everything, including gasoline and housing prices and the cost of eggs, to go down 50%, to go down by half tomorrow. I would love that. I would love for a brick of 22 to go back to, $10. I would love that. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I don't see the future. Maybe that could happen in some weird scenario, but I don't think so. Here's some things to throw out there to chew on. There has been a great reduction in the GCC, the Gulf Coast countries, export of oil. And there's a war going on over there. That makes sense. But even if today or tomorrow we say, congratulations, we've won, the war is over, we're pulling out, declare victory, mission accomplished, whatever, and we just leave. Well, the Iranians control the Straits of Hormuz, so they control what goes in and out, which I don't know why they wouldn't put a big fat tariff on a bunch of the ships going in or out. So the price is going to go up. Not only that, but between our bombings and their bombings and missiles and all kinds of stuff, I believe a large chunk of the manufacturing in different countries of the Gulf Coast countries has gone down. And even if we stop today, it's likely going to take years to come back. Years. So even if we stop, if all the missiles stop today, right now as I'm recording this, which would, it is what it is. I don't know when that's going to happen. But even if it stopped right now, mid-sentence, that stuff's not going to come back online overnight. It's going to take time. Now, I think we felt it less here because we're a net exporter of petroleum. But that we now have a global economy. So generally, China imports cheap energy, petroleum and things like that from the GCC and other places, and they produce cheap goods, and we buy those cheap goods, which helps keep our cost of living down and the cost of goods down, the COG, right, the cost of goods. Well, if China, at the least severe impact, has to pay a lot more for oil, or just think of it as energy to keep the lights on and the factories going, then the cost of goods has to go up, unless there's some weird thing I don't know about, right? The cost of goods is going to have to go up. So there's that. If they can't get that, they're going to prioritize taking care of themselves and exporting widgets. It's probably going to come second. That's what they probably should do as a country, right? So there's that. Also, we don't think about this a lot because you think, farms, you throw a seed in the ground and, the bread comes off the bread tree and you just pluck it and that's like, I don't know what people think. But modern monocrop agriculture is heavily dependent on petrochemical fertilizers. Petro meaning it comes from oil. Guess where a lot of that oil comes from? Yeah, so supply and demand. That price is going to go up. So the cost of food, I would love to be wrong. I would love for the price of food to drop drastically. That'd be fantastic. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'd love to be wrong. So petroleum doesn't just affect the price at the pump. It affects the price of food. Also, the food has to be shipped, so it affects it twice. It affects it on the cost of fertilizer to grow it, and it affects it on the cost to ship it around, because I doubt that, whatever food you got from your neighbor next door. A lot of that comes from overseas or from across the country. That has to be shipped. Train, plane, automobile. Those all run on petroleum, right? So you got to think about that. So although stuff is not cheap right now, I don't think that it's going to get any cheaper in the near future. And I am not telling you to go in debt, right? You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And the Bible also says the borrower is a slave to the lender. I don't want to be a slave to debt. I don't want you to be a slave to debt. So this is not me telling you to go out and run up credit card debt or anything else. I'm not telling you to do that. I don't have a credit card. I've never had a credit card. Except for property, I don't have any debt. And I wish I could have figured out a way to just buy a house in cash. But I don't want you to be in debt. So don't do that. Do not do that. But if you have any disposable income and you think that you could use some more food, some more ammunition, some more whatever it is, not just frivolous stuff, not like if you've got 4 ARs, I'm not telling you to go buy a 5th AR. I'm telling you, if you don't have a decent stockpile of ammo, not so you can hoard it and sit on it and feel good about yourself, so you can train and practice and shoot this year's competition season, and stay good, because I'm less concerned about the 10,000 rounds you have in your bunker. I'm more concerned about how good you are with the rounds in your magazine. Otherwise, you're just going to be a dead dude with a bunch of rounds somewhere that you can't take with you. So be good with the ammo that you have in your gun. And that means practice. Practice and training requires ammo. So just a thought there. Also food. I don't think any of us in living memory have, unless you've been to war or been in some weird scenario, have really seen starvation. But starvation is a real thing, and it's miserable. And if you want any kind of motivation on that, I recommend the book Survival Theory 2. It deals with studies of human starvation in modern times. But food. So just something to think about. There's that old adage, store what you eat and eat what you store. Now would maybe be a good time to get extra of what you're going to eat. An easy way to do that is, look for buy one, get one sales or 50% off. If it's something you're going to eat, get 2 and put 1 in storage. That's an easy sell if you're with somebody that's not really on board for prepping. But, I'm just going to pick something I don't generally eat, but Denny Moore beef stew. There's a sale on it. Get 2 cans and put 1 can in the pantry or whatever. Or if you're going to eat it anyway, maybe buy a case of it if you've got the money. Peanut butter is one of my favorite things to store because, peanut butter's got all the things, a growing survivalist needs. It's got fat, it's got protein. That's really all you need, right? Fat and protein. Carbs are a luxury that you probably don't need or shouldn't have in modern, Anyway, I'm gonna get off of that. But protein, fat, peanut butter is an easy thing to store. And who doesn't love peanut butter? You might be listening to the wrong podcast if you don't like peanut butter. But assuming you don't have a peanut butter allergy or something, peanut butter is something good. Instead of buying 1 jar, buy 2 or 3 or 10 and put those away. So that's a good thing to store. But just expect to or brace for supply chain disruptions. And again, I would love to be wrong. I would love for the price of everything to drop in half. That'd be fantastic. Hopefully that happens. And I don't really like talking about this because I don't want to be the sky is falling dude, but I'd also feel bad if I didn't talk about it. So something to think about, something to chew on, pontificate. Anyway, with that, no tactical tip because I feel like that whole episode was kind of a tactical tip, but tactical verse of the day or verses: the borrower is a slave to the lender, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. My thoughts. Love is not just some flowery emotion you feel when you're, in love with a girl or something. Love is deeper than that. Love is not always a feel-good thing. Sometimes loving somebody properly is telling someone something that's hard, that they don't want to hear. But being honest with them and helping them even if they don't like it. That's real love. That's one form of real love. And I think that's a lot deeper than the Hallmark version of love or the Disney version of love. Like actual love. Even if it makes somebody not like you, because it's not about you, it's about them. Being honest with them, being truthful with them, telling them something even if they don't want to hear it. Not because you gloat in their suffering, but because you're trying to help them. And even they may not like it, they may reject it, they may not like you for it. But sometimes that's the right thing to do. And sometimes that is the most loving thing that you can do. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.